Car loan.
Judge Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
She takes her seat behind the bench.
A seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge.
Right, Kevin.
Case number 1159, Coley versus Zavala Gray.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're Miss Zavala,
Yes, Your Honor.
and this is your daughter.
Yes, she is.
I'm going to start with you. How do you know the plaintiff?
I had met him. I was having car trouble. My friend rented me an Airbnb because she didn't want to take me home. So he had been renting the same Airbnb, and that's how we that's how we met each other.
In what month and year was that?
Approximately June or July of 2020.
2020.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time, you didn't have a car.
I had a vehicle, but it wasn't operating.
So you didn't have a car. Having a car that's not operating is like not having a car. And were you and Mr. Coley just friends, or did you have a more social relationship?
No, we were just strictly just friends.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I assume that you told him about your car trouble.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did Mr. Coley say to you?
I believe...
Look at me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I believe that he offered to rent a vehicle for me, and...
He said, I'll rent a car for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was very nice of him. How were you going to arrange to pay him for that?
Well, I had the money to pay for the rental.
So why would he have to rent it for you?
He gets like discounts and with his AAA, or he had some kind of promotional thing that it was going to be cheap.
What kind of promotional thing that you had that was going to be cheap, Mr. Coley?
No promotions at all. She didn't have credit, and she told me she was going to go rent it. She actually drove down or got a ride to the rental car place, and she called me from the counter and said, "Oh, need a credit card? They won't rent to me. Come on down."
Does that sound more familiar?
Yeah, that was correct.
Does that sound more familiar? That
Yes,
you
Your
went there and they wouldn't rent you a car?
Yes, Your Honor. I didn't have a credit card yet.
And in what month was that?
I got like July.
So shortly after you met him.
Yeah, oh yeah, immediately after I met him.
So now you called him from the rental car place. You had just met him and said they won't rent me a car because I have no credit card. And now you're at the rental car place. Where's your daughter?
At the time she was at school, she was still going to high school. She was nowhere.
Okay, so you're by yourself at the rental car place.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
Jeff came and
He came to the rental car place.
Yeah, and we were gonna rent a Charger, but something had happened. He didn't have enough money in his bank or something like that. So he said I could use his vehicle. Then we went back to his place. We chit-chatted a little bit, and I believe it was the next day that he called and told me that he was gonna purchase another vehicle if I wanted to buy his car that he had now, which is the Altima I'm currently buying.
So he was going to get another car, and he wanted to know if you wanted to buy his car.
Yeah, he was really excited. He was looking...
Just a second. He wanted to know if you wanted to buy his car, and what did you say?
I said, absolutely, that'd be great. And he said, I know
Just a second. That's not exactly what you say in your answer, but continue. So he said, you want to buy my car? Great. Well, if you want to buy somebody's car, then you usually negotiate a price.
You're correct.
What price do you claim that you negotiated?
I believe it was around 55.
No, not around. When you buy a car, you negotiate a price. Ms. Zavala, how old are you?
40.
When you buy a car, you negotiate a price. Even my 18-year-old grandchild knows that.
Okay.
I like that car. How much is it? I want $4,000. I'll give you $3,000. How about $3,200? How about $3,700? Do you understand? You negotiate a price. You're a big girl. You have a grown-up daughter. So you want to buy my car. This is what you're telling me now. You said that would be great. And what do you do about the cost of the car?
He said he was going to give me time to get a deposit together and sell the car that wasn't working.
Did you come up with a price?
I thought it was $5,500.
What do you mean you thought it was $5,000?
That's what he told me. It's $5,500. I would be taking over payments.
$5,500. You were taking over payments.
Taking over the rest of his payments.
Just a second. So you knew his car was either leased or bought, and there was a loan on it.
Yeah, I just know that he told me, you're going to pay me payments of this amount of money every month. And I said, no problem. He goes, get as much money you can together for a deposit, for a down payment on the car. And that's what I did. I didn't ask if he was still financing the car. I didn't ask any of those questions. He just gave me an amount of what he wanted every month.
Now, if I believe that part of the story, before you said, if I'm not mistaken, that was $5,500. I believe she used the word taking over his payments.
I would be
Yeah, I
taking
did
over
say
his
that.
payments.
I would be taking over his payments. Well, when you take over somebody's payments, it means that they owe money. Then you would say, unless you're a real fool, how much do you still owe on the car? You mean you never had that conversation with him?
I don't remember.
Then let's go a little further. So now in July, you have a car, his car.
Yes.
Did you sell your car?
Yes, I did.
What kind of a car was it that you sold?
A 98 Honda Civic.
Who did you sell it to?
A friend of mine's dad.
And how much did you get for it?
I got 700 and I gave him 600.
When did you sell it?
I don't remember the date. I have it in my evidence here though.
Take a look.
March 2nd.
So March 2nd was the first time you gave him any money on the car. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm sorry. I read it wrong. It actually doesn't say the date here. He's the one that typed this up. It doesn't tell me a date. I believe it was like not even 2 weeks after I had gotten the.
That would be in July.
Yeah, it was still in July.
Well,
yeah.
when did you sell your other car?
Like a week or two after. So in July.
Making it up as she's going along.
Caption coming up.
Let's understand something, sir. Does this face look stupid? You think they kept me around here 25 years, 26 years because I'm stupid? The document that you gave me says amount left to pay, $2,879.
Jeffrey smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jeffrey, Melissa, and Faith.
Jeffrey Coley is accusing his former friend, Melissa Zavala, of not completing the payments on a car loan. Melissa says she's already paid more than the car is worth.
Okay, when did you get the $600?
A couple of weeks later.
Oh.
And I'm showing 540. It was pretty good at nickel and dime.
That's your fault.
Yes.
If that's your fault, you're the seller.
Yes.
I don't know what your end game was, but that's your fault.
I was just
That's your
nice.
being nice, and
Well-
well, then if you're being nice and you're burdening me, then I get to be not nice. That you don't keep good records. Nickel here, $5 here, $10 there, and then you expect somebody with several degrees to make chicken salad out of what you've created, Mr. Coley. Do you understand? If you sell somebody your car and you're looking for a different end game, and I don't know what the different end game was, then if you sell somebody your car, you keep the records. July 27th, $600. August 5th, $150.
Yes,
Sale
Your Honor.
price is this much. Payments to be made.
That's
Do you understand?
exactly what I did. All this paper documents, yes.
Perfect. You had this car and there was a loan on it.
Yes.
Who was the lender?
Westlake Financial.
And how much was left on the car at the time that Miss Zavala started to drive it?
Approximately 4,200 and change.
Let's be clear. How much was left on it? $4,200?
4,279.
Okay. So first she gave you $600, right?
Correct.
And you have records of each of her payments.
Correct.
So you paid off your note.
No, the note has 22% interest. It's a bank note. I pay interest. So she's taken over payments until the bank note's paid, which is roughly 2 years. She knew it was 2 years. It says so 2 years on the document she signed.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
And
So just a second. I'd like to see the document she signed.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss Zavala, did you have insurance or did he pay the...
provided insurance.
So
It was
in
full
addition,
coverage.
just a second. So the payments that you made to him also included car insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And this is dated 7/10/2020. Loan principal approximately $4127. You're supposed to make a down payment of $3,000 as agreed, which you didn't make. Monthly payments of $245. Lesser forwards payments directly, that's you, to auto lender Westlake from July 20th, approximately 2 years or until the vehicle is paid off. Okay, if Leslie fails for around 45 days, she will surrender the vehicle back, which you did fall behind. You didn't pay the $245 in monthly payments all the time, so he came, took the car back. He took the car once when your daughter was working, which is your counterclaim because it upset her. That's your counterclaim. right?
Yeah, he
Well,
humiliated her at work.
that's dismissed. Lessee is fully responsible for any damages. That's you. There were little damages. You had a little car accident?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a yes.
Yes.
Where was the damage?
It was on the side of the car, on the passenger side.
Did you have it fixed?
Yeah.
You had it fixed? Okay. Not insurance?
No.
You paid to have it
Yeah.
fixed. So I want to see what's left on the car.
I have the or the statement.
Well, then show it to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Jeffrey hands a document to Kevin.
And here was the one for May. So I have today.
No, I just want,
No,
all I want, you have the car, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. All I want to see is what's due on the car. Well, actually, there's nothing much past due. Your account is past due, amount due $603. But amount left to pay is $2,800, according to this.
It's forecasted with interest.
What is left on the car is $2,800. That would be with interest.
If it went a whole year,
If
yes.
it went a whole year.
But if it was cash today, or for example, it would be only the $22,000 or $21,000.
It would be what?
Whatever the balance says on the statement.
The balance that's left on the statement.
Yes. Oh,
You
it's a tiny box in the middle left, far left, under the payoff progress, it says. It's hard to see.
Amount left to pay $2,879.03.
Okay.
That's what it says is left,
Okay.
right?
Correct.
Okay. You signed this agreement?
May I look at it closer?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Judy hands the document to Kevin, who brings it to Melissa. She reviews it.
Yeah, I did sign that.
Very good. So what you agree to do is pay the car out. And if you want the car in your name, who has the title?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, the bank holds the title.
Yeah, but you have the title the bank with a lien holder.
Correct.
Correct. So that once a payment is made to the bank in the amount of $2,000 to Westlake, $2,879.03, as of November, the car is fully paid off. So you have the title.
No, the
They
car's
have
not
it.
paid off.
No.
I still have 1 year left with Westlake.
No. If the car is paid off today,
Sorry. My apologies.
$2,800, then the car is paid off. Then her contract with
balance.
you is fulfilled.
Partially, Miss Gray crashed the car and it was not fixed.
Just a second. I don't care.
Okay.
What difference does that make? She pays $2,800 today. It's going to be her car.
The car broke, didn't break. It needed maintenance, 100,000-mile car. She said roughly around December that she couldn't afford to do the maintenance. I said, I'll help you out because your daughter was...
Mr. Coley, let's understand something, sir. Does this face look stupid? You think they kept me around here 25 years, 26 years because I'm stupid? The document that you gave me, that you told me to look in the left-hand corner says amount left to pay.
That's correct. We've agreed.
$2,879.
Yes,
So
Your
if
Honor.
the company is paid,
The car is paid.
the
but
car
there's
is
two
paid
loans
for,
on the car. I'm
and then
trying-
her contract with you is fulfilled. She says, according to this, approximately 2 years or until the vehicle is paid off,
Correct.
at which time the vehicle title will be transferred to the lessee.
Correct.
Perfect.
Caption coming up.
I just asked you what parts and labor not performed, 570.
I'm trying to explain. She refused to go the second day. So the parts I paid for went to waste.
Judy glares at Jeffrey. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jeffrey, Melissa, and Faith.
Jeffrey Coley is accusing his former friend, Melissa Zavala, of not completing the payments on a car loan. Melissa says she's already paid more than the car is worth.
She says, according to this, approximately 2 years or until the vehicle is paid off,
Correct.
at which time the vehicle title will be transferred to the lessee.
Correct.
Perfect. I'm entering a judgment for $2,879. The check will be made payable directly to Westlake Finance.
But there's more
And with a
loans, Your Honor.
direction to the Department of Motor Vehicles that the Department of Motor Vehicles is to issue a clean title in the name of Miss Zavala.
But, Your Honor, the damage is not fixed. She lied to you.
What difference does that make to you?
Because I can't. Oh, if those loans paid off, I understand they're keeping the car. There's different ways. But see.
No, that's my way. And
no,
there's my way.
She can give the car back and
she's
I can
not,
sell it.
No,
she can
she's
keep
not.
it. That's what I meant.
What I mean is,
That's what-
there's going to be a check cut to Westlake Finance.
I understand.
For $2,879.03 as of November, with a direction. So the loan is fully paid, prepaid, done. And then I'm going to issue an order to the Department of Motor Vehicles to issue a new title in Miss Zavala's name, and her contract with you has been fulfilled according to her contract. You want to read it?
No, I understand, Your Honor. May I speak to the court, please?
About what?
Miss Zavala called me in December and said, I would like to have you do some repairs and pay the car registration and get new tires and change the oil. And I said, whoa, 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 you own the car. It's not right for me to have to pay all your expenses. So she hasn't paid registration since December. The police,
Show me that. Show me where that is. Show me where that is in your complaint, sir. Show me where that.
They only
show
give
me
us
that.
two lines to fill in the complaint.
Show me where that is. There's not 2 lines. Show me where that is in your
The original
complaint.
court papers was 2 lines, yes.
Nowhere. The original court papers may have been 2 lines, but this is not 2 lines.
I believe it mentions there's a loan, a repair loan in there, I believe.
Oh, well, just
I
show
don't
me.
have it in front
Show
of
me,
me.
please. I may not.
Yeah,
Show
there's
me.
a repair loan on there.
Just show me.
Okay.
Just make a circle.
that's
I
what I
may
was
have read it.
trying
I may have misread it. Just show me where it is.
On my auto loan and vehicle repair loan, yes. It's at the very, very bottom.
Jeffrey circles text on the document.
As a result of Melissa's late payments, I incurred fees late on my credit report, and one from yesterday, there's 2 lates now, from a auto loan and a vehicle repair loan that she asked me to repair for her, and it killed my credit score. Let me give you the copy of the, just one more document to go with that. Let's see, here's the repairs. Sorry.
Mr. Coley, I want you to show me a paid bill for repairs on the car. Show me a paid bill for the repairs on the car that first, while it was in Miss Zavala's possession. A paid repair bill, and then give me
Yes,
back a copy.
balance due 0. This is paid, Your Honor.
Okay, great. I'd like to take a look at it.
Jeffrey hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Okay, this was in December
Correct.
of 20 total parts and labor not performed, $573. What is that?
What happens, Mrs. Zavala was difficult to work with, so
I want to know what that means. Total parts and labor not performed.
It means it took 2 trips to the auto mechanic. I'd made the first trip. During that trip, I went to Mrs. Zavala's residence, did her a favor, and picked up the car because she was watching a little child and couldn't get away. I dropped my day, what I was doing.
Just a second.
Took her.
I just asked you what parts and labor not performed, $573.
I'm trying to explain.
Nothing
The
was done
first
to the
day
car.
I went, they do half the work. So Zavala meets, the second day, I had to come back second day. So I said, Ms. Zavala, you go the second day. She refused to go the second day. So the parts I paid for went to waste. So.
Listen, sir, I don't know what your thing is. $2,879.03. That is going to be paid directly to Westlake with an order from me that the car is to be put in her name. Goodbye. We're done here.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Court is adjourned.
Jeffrey, then Melissa.
We love Judge Judy, obviously.
I'm very happy with the judge's decision.
Well, the defendant was slow in paying. She ruined my credit.
I didn't want it to end up like this. I have nothing against him, but I just felt after $7,000, I felt like I was being taken advantage of at that point, and I had to stop.
Well, it was $3,000 in damage.
Actually, I'm not even gonna lie, it wasn't my fault. I was going into the lane and I didn't see the car, so we just glided against each other.
It's not even close to fixed.
So she did get into an accident. She paid to have it fixed with her own money.
I'm a fair guy. I say, look, you're 3 months behind. I'm coming to get the car.
He towed the car. I didn't even know he towed it. He just took it.
We all learn a lot when we do things like this. But, you know, a good deed and then multiple deeds, you know, those don't get counted.
Too much drama.
Sarah.
It seemed to me that there was a sort of different end game that plaintiff was after, doing all those kind things, taking a car that he had already effectively sold to get repairs done and doing favors. And not sure, there's something off.
That's probably true, because if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. But there's something else there that just is so outrageous. That is when you have an original loan and you take it out and you really don't appreciate the fact that when you pay back that loan, even if it's in a relatively short period of time, you're paying back twice as much.
Sometimes even more.
Yeah. I think that you're probably better off getting a cheaper car, as long as it runs, to get you around, rather than obligating yourself for a high credit loan. I would rather own something.
Suing security guard Sean Gibson for advocacy services he provided to Sean.
Court come to order.
Judge Judy.
Be seated, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case 1115, White versus Gibson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. White, I'd like you to tell me something of your educational background.
Yes, ma'am. I have a master's degree in criminal justice.
From where?
St. Louis University.
Do you have any history of working as a paralegal?
No.
None.
None.
Now, this case involves a claim you were hired by the defendant to do the paperwork that was necessary in a labor dispute that he had with a former employer. That labor dispute involved some $35,000 in unpaid wages.
These are the numbers that Mr. White came up with.
He came up with the number.
Yes, ma'am.
According to what I read, you met during a security job.
Yes.
You were both doing security.
Yes,
correct.
ma'am.
You're a former police officer?
Yes, ma'am. Police lieutenant.
And you?
A security guard.
And during the course of that interaction, you must have relayed, Mr. Gibson, to Mr. White that you felt an employer owed you back wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Another security company.
Yes, ma'am.
And in what years did you work for them?
I worked for them from 2017 to 2020.
And what period of time weren't you compensated?
They did not pay me for any overtime.
Overtime?
Yeah, for my overtime, I had to take working lunches, unfair work conditions. And they also, they sent me a 1099, even though they've been taking taxes out of my check all year.
Okay. And that was for the last year you worked for them?
Yes, ma'am.
So you discussed that with Mr. White, and Mr. White said, I can help you fill out the paperwork. You're owed probably a lot of money.
Yeah, he said he did this. He said he was a lawyer and that...
He said he was a lawyer?
He said he was a lawyer. This is at that first meeting. He said he was a lawyer.
Where did that meeting take place?
While we were working.
You mean when you first discussed it? It wasn't a meeting?
No, it wasn't a meeting. Yeah, we just first discussed it. He said he hasn't gotten on the bar here in California yet.
Okay, so you knew he wasn't a lawyer?
Yeah, I found out, yes.
No, you knew.
Oh, yeah, at the time.
You knew at the time that he wasn't a
Yes,
lawyer?
ma'am.
Okay. Did you make an arrangement with him?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the arrangement?
The arrangement was if he was able to get some compensation for this, or to fill out those paperwork and do what he said he can do, that he would get 20% of the...
Recovery?
Yes, ma'am.
So you told him to get started with the paperwork?
Yes, I did.
In exchange for 20% of whatever recovery you had?
Absolutely.
And on what date was that?
I believe December of 2019.
Okay, Mr. White, so far, are we in agreement of the following? That you and Mr. Gibson entered into a contract, and that contract was that you would begin to process his case with the labor board against the security company, and you would be receiving as compensation, not a flat fee, but 20% of whatever recovery he got as a result of your efforts.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume you have copies of everything that you did for him.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the initial forms that you filled out and sent on his behalf.
Okay.
There were 2 forms.
Charles produces documents, then hands them to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Okay, one is a claim form, and you say meal period wages from September 7th, 2018 to March 28th, 2020, $8,200. Rest period wages, because he didn't get rest periods, so you added that up, $20 an hour, he came up with another $8,200. Then it says others specify, September 7th, 18 to March 28th, 2020, $19,550. What was that for?
They would include things such as...
No, where is it in the form? I see you write other, specify, but where is it specified what the 19.5 is? It says specify. So just show me. I must have missed it.
Well, you didn't, ma'am.
No. Do I need help from you?
No.
So far. I may need help from you.
Sean nods.
No, ma'am, I failed to include that in the packet.
Well, so that the packet is incomplete, so that more 50% of the claim that you filed for him did not include the reason that you were asking for money. You, in total, asked for $35,000, right?
Yes.
And you've got $8,000, and then $19,500 for other. So of the two documents that you filled out, one of them was worthless because it doesn't specify what it is that you're suing for. And the other one is a single page, December 13th, is a letter that you sent to them that my services have been retained as his employee advocate. Mr. Gibson has signed this document to vindicate this letter as well. Please allow this letter to serve as a request for his employee records maintained by whatever company it was. And you signed it. Did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So so far, this is your work product. What else did you do for him? Because they must have sent that back to you and said it's incomplete.
No, ma'am.
They didn't.
No. I have a letter from the state indicating that they accepted and received the document and his claim was in process.
What state is that from?
California.
This country is in such trouble. You submit a form that's for a claim, and you don't specify what the claim is, and they accepted the form. That's what you're telling me. I'd love to see that letter. It's going to go in the Guinness Book.
Judy receives a document.
Ma'am,
What?
I failed to include a copy of the details of the other in this packet. I did submit other with the claim, otherwise they wouldn't approve it. I just forgot to include it with this packet today.
Well, that's what's necessary. This is your day. This is your day in court. You want to show me something that's going to help his case?
No. I do not.
I don't understand you. I'd like to see what he's got.
Kevin retrieves a document from Sean and brings it to Judy.
This is a piece of paper from the state basically saying that the other was not accepted and that he filed it in the wrong place.
Charles shakes his head. Caption coming up.
So the first one you signed.
The first one I signed.
This one you did not.
Yeah, the one with all the calculations on it.
Okay. Did you, in fact, Mr. White, sign his name to this document?
Charles raises his hand. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Charles and Sean.
Retired Police Lieutenant Charles White. Claims security guard Sean Gibson. Owes for the advocacy services he completed to help Sean in a labor dispute.
Mr. Gibson, on May 4th of 2020, that's 2 weeks later after you filed these papers, telling Mr. Gibson, I'm deputy assigned to your case, I've attached the claim filed. I have removed Mr. White from your case. Please answer a few questions. Did you sign this form? Did Mr. White represent himself as an attorney? Do you wish to pursue this case? Please note, the section on other is mostly not applicable to this department. What else did you do for the defendant? Show me pieces of paper that you did, filed, researched, whatever you did.
Charles produces documents, then hands them to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
Those are papers showing forth of Mr. Gibson's payroll records. I took his payroll records based off his information and calculated how many rest breaks he missed, the amount that he should have been paid for in both categories.
I asked you a question. What other papers did you file for him?
Oh, those are only two papers. I thought you said, what work did I do for him?
Did you ever sign his name to a document?
No.
Did he ever sign your name to a document?
Yes, ma'am.
Which document did he sign your name to?
To the wage claim. Letter I just gave you when she was asking, did I sign this and do I want to continue? The reason why I got that from her is because he never gave it to me. I asked him several times to give me a copy of it. He absolutely...
Oh, you mean the one that says other? I'll take that back. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Kevin?
Yes.
Kevin retrieves a document from Charles.
You're talking about this.
Kevin hands it to Judy.
So the first one you signed.
The first one I signed.
This one you did not.
Yeah, the one with all the calculations on it.
With these.
Correct. I did not.
82, 82, and 19.
Never seen it, never signed it.
Never saw it.
Never saw it. I asked him several times for it. He refused to give it to me.
Okay. Did you, in fact, Mr. White, sign his name to this document?
No, ma'am. Can I add something to that, Judge Judy?
Mm-hmm.
Not only did I not sign his name to the document, Mr. Gibson also has signed a notarized authorization that if I needed to sign his name to a document, that I could sign his name. In that situation...
I'm just asking you whether or not you signed his name.
Okay. No, ma'am.
Yeah, I think you did.
I did not...
Let me tell you what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at his sworn to answer, which he seems to put a dot in between the first letters of his last name. He did the same thing in December of 13th of 2019 when he signed the request for employee records. Those signatures are the same. The one for payment of wages you claim you didn't sign is different from those two. So the one that was signed today and the one that was signed December of 2019, they're the same signature. But the one that was filed in 2020 and rejected is not the same signature. So if what you're telling me is he signed a power of attorney allowing you to sign his name, that's one thing. But if what you're telling me is that this is his signature, I don't think it is, based upon the two reasons that I just told you. Okay. When did he fire you?
He fired me on April 21st, 2020.
And it would be fair to say that up until April of 2020, you had filed two documents, one in December and one document in April of 2020.
Can I add a statement, ma'am? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not sure what Mr. Gibson presented to you, an email from somebody, but what I presented was actually a letter from the state with a seal on it that stated that they received the document, the wage claim, and it was in process. Mr. Gibson presented you with an email for somebody that may not be legitimate.
Oh, I think probably it is, but I'd like to see the document that you have. Do I have it here?
Yes, the paper that the state accepted is the California state seal on it. And that's directly from the
Just
state.
said, dear sir, madam, your wage claim has been received by Van Nuys Claim Adjusted Service. Would you show this, please, to Mr. White?
Judy hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Charles.
Thank you.
The letter that you show me, sir, is dated April 21st of 2020. In May, the same person sent Mr. Gibson that email, removing you as his attorney. Now I'll have it back.
Mr. Gibson requested that I be removed from his claim on April 21st of 2020. In a letter from himself and also his attorney, I have those letters here, so...
I'd like to have them.
Charles hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
So Ms. Thompson may respond to...
Just a second, just a second.
She reviews them.
Okay, now, Mr. Gibson, I'm going to get to you. Clearly, at some point, you retained a law firm.
I did.
But you had several matters at that time.
Yes.
What kind of matters did you have at that time?
At the time, when I first hired him, it was a TRO hearing.
Filed by whom?
By my former employer. Filed 4 days after Charles had submitted the letter that I intended.
You were suing him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, were you the plaintiff or the defendant of the TRO? TRO is a temporary restraining order. Somebody had to request it. Who requested a restraining order?
My employer.
Your employer?
They said I threatened my co-workers, and they fired me.
Okay. So you hired this law firm to represent you on that matter?
Yeah, I hired the law firm to represent me after going round and round with Charles about giving me the wage claim, stuff like that. Then once they filed this TRO on me, and I said, you can't help me with this.
Very good. Now, on what date was this matter settled with the security company?
It's still ongoing.
So you haven't received any money?
Not a penny. It was closed. As far as the wage claim was withdrawn. And as far as me suing my former employer, that's still ongoing.
What are you suing the employer for?
Wrongful termination.
Caption coming up.
Right now, he hasn't collected anything. What are you suing him for? The contract wasn't fulfilled. Now I'll hear you.
Thank you.
No. You respond to me.
Oh, yes.
Did he collect anything?
He told me he did.
Oh.
Sean smiles. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Charles and Sean.
Retired Police Lieutenant Charles White has accused security guard Sean Gibson of canceling his service contract without paying him. Sean says Charles forged his signature on an official document.
Now, do you have any proof that you withdrew the wage claim?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
Sean hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Thank you.
She reviews it.
Yeah, he withdrew the complaint involving the State of California Department of Industrial Relations Labor Commission office. So I don't know what this is about, but Mr. White, this is a very simple matter. You're suing him for $7,000. As you relayed your contract to me, he agreed to pay you 20% of anything he recovered as a result of his claim. Do you understand? Put your hand down. That's what you told me. That's why I have Whitney here.
Yes.
Correct? He has not recovered anything unless you can prove the contrary to me. If he has a settlement, you may be able to put a lien on that settlement just because his lawyer says you're fired. If you had a valid contract with him and you did work on that contract and a subsequent lawyer took over the case from you, you might have some sort of a lien as an advocate against some portion of that settlement. But right now, he hasn't collected anything. What are you suing him for? The contract wasn't fulfilled. Now I'll hear you.
Thank you.
No. You respond to me.
Oh, yes.
Did he collect anything?
He told me he did.
Oh. You mean you can't verify that? You're an advocate. You can't verify with the state how much he received?
Once he removed me from the claim, I had no more authority to inquire about the details of the claim. So he's trying
Did you collect any money from the wage claim?
No, I withdrew the claim. Anything that had his name on it, I withdrew.
Just a second. Did you collect any money?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. But the case that you have is still ongoing.
Not the wage claim case. That's dead.
But you are proceeding with regard to a wrongful termination case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you understand? You weren't advocating for him in a wrongful termination case. You were advocating for him for three things. One thing I don't know, because you didn't put it in the papers, and that was other. I know lunch breaks and overtime. Do you understand? So your case is dismissed. We're finished. What?
On my contract between me and Mr. Gibson, it states that I would be paid either 20% of the amount recovered or $2,000, whichever is the higher.
Show me. Just a second. What you just told me is that presupposes there was some sort of financial remuneration coming to the defendant.
Page 2.
Just a second, I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Judy reviews a document.
Okay, Mr. Gibson, did you sign this contract with him?
I don't know which one.
I'm going to show it to you, and then I want you to look at number 6 under compensation. I want you to look at this contract and tell me if you signed it.
Kevin takes the document from Judy, then brings it to Sean.
No, ma'am. I don't even know what this is exactly.
Did you ever see it?
I don't recall it, but I know that's not my signature.
Can I have that, please?
I also have an e-sign confirmation that he did receive that and send that to me.
Kevin brings a document to Judy.
That's from his email to my email, signed by Adobe Sign. It shows service agreement at the very bottom.
If I could, Your Honor, the reason why I fired Mr. White, outside of just forging my name on documents, is this was the type of stuff he always did. He always lied, confused, and tried to change things.
Just a second. Mr. White, the signature on this document that you give me is not the same signature of the defendant's, either the initial document that was his or his answer today. Look, he never collected any money. The lawsuit on which you base your claim is an unfulfilled contract. If, in fact, he did sign that contract, then I'm not so sure. If, Mr. White, Mr. Gibson had, in fact, retained another attorney on the same matter that he retained you on, as I said, and he got money, you would have been, in my view, entitled to a portion of that money consistent with the work that you did, which was 2 pages, 1 page that you filed and 1 document that you filed which was inaccurate and incomplete, and on which you actually did forge a signature. So I would have to base it on that 1-page document that you did in fact file for him. But there is no indication that he ever received any money with regard to the wages claim that was the thrust of what you were hired to do for him. So your case is dismissed. We're finished here.
Court is adjourned.
Charles is interviewed, then Sean.
He signed an affidavit notarized to state that I could make his signature if I needed to.
Plaintiff fraudulently signed my name on 2 different documents.
Some of those were e-signed documents, and the e-sign was different than his wet signature, and that's all it was.
When we first met, he said he was a lawyer,
He couldn't afford the attorney for his criminal cases.
but he does not do lawyer. Hasn't passed the bar here.
So he went ahead and gave the award percentage to the attorney.
I fired him immediately, as soon as I find out.
I've actually already changed him slightly, but everything should work out pretty good.
You know, but that's what it is. You know, you lay down with dogs, you wake up with fleas.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, I've always said, Sarah, that people should stay in their lane.
Yeah.
It was clear to me in that case that the plaintiff was out of his lane, because I'm certainly not an expert. I don't know what you know about filing wage claims, but when half of your claim is about other, specify, and you don't do that, you're supposed to stay in your lane.
Major oversight.
Yeah, and clearly the defendant got a lawyer who convinced him that these claims were going to be dismissed because they had no validity, and the only real claim that he might have is wrongful termination.
Margaret Eisen for Vet Bills.
All rise. Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 1057, Mardell versus Galicia Isaac.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Mr. Galicia was your roommate.
Correct.
Judy smiles at a small dog.
Cute puppy. I assume that's Puka.
That's Puka, yeah.
When did you and Mr. Galicia move into this apartment together? You were roommates.
So I was already the leaseholder in the house, and he moved in December of 2019.
Were either of these 2 gentlemen witnesses to the event which resulted in injury to Puka?
No, Your Honor.
What's the purpose of their being here?
They were both witnesses to the conversation that I had with Christian regarding seeking to pay for the damages for her vet bills.
All right, it's your claim in this action that the defendants, both of them, including Ms. Eisen, who was visiting your house on that day, you were not at home,
Correct.
should be held responsible for Puka's vet bills because it was as a result of their negligence that she broke her paw.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
okay. And this injury happened to the dog on what date?
It was April 8th, 2020.
You were not at home.
No.
When you left the house on April 8th of 2020, you know what you could do, sir? You can take the dog outside. Okay. And if we need you, I'll call one witness and then I'll call you. You can go out that way. Dog is cute.
A young man leaves with Puka.
When you went out April 8th, was Mr. Galicia there?
I think he was at home when I left, yeah.
When you left the home on April 8th, where did you put Puka?
She was in my room with the door closed, which is where she lived.
Tell me how you found out she was injured.
I received a phone call, and
from whom?
From Christian. And he told me that they had taken Puka out of the room to play with her, that they had set her up on this bar stool to keep her still, and that she had slipped, fell onto the ground.
Who had placed Puka on the bar stool?
They did not specify.
Okay, he said they placed her on the bar stool, and she slipped off.
She slipped and fell. As you, she's very animated, so she was about 3 months old at the time, so she was very wiggly, yeah.
But he said they had placed her on a bar stool.
Correct.
And she slipped off.
Yeah, and she fell.
You went home?
Actually, they had told me that she had a serious injury because she was very upset, and I think it was her arm looked funny.
So they took her to the vet?
They sent me the information of a vet. They had looked up an emergency vet in Berkeley, and I immediately got in my car and drove to meet them at the vet.
So you took her to the vet?
Yeah, we did. I had called her once, and then on the second time, she decided to come and join us. But the first time, she had explained, oh, just wait until I arrive, and then we can take her to the vet.
Okay. Did you, in fact, Mr. Galicia, telephone the plaintiff and let her know that you were taking the puppy out of her room and placed her on a bar stool from which she fell off? Did you say that to her?
So...
That's either a yes or a no.
No.
What did you tell her?
I told her that...
No, look at me.
Okay. I told her that the dog had been let out by us, and when we were...
Look at me.
Setting up to go to work out, the dog was running around, had a lot of energy, and as a result, the dog, we tried to control the dog.
Mr. Galicia, it's always easier, Mr. Galicia, to tell me the direct story the first time. Do you understand? It's less embarrassing. Believe me, it's less embarrassing. So I'm going to put an eraser on the last 3 minutes of your fumfering. Did you tell the plaintiff that we put the puppy on a bar stool, she slipped off, I think she broke her paw. Her paw looks funny. Did you tell her that?
We told her that the dog was...
No.
Energy.
No, you didn't tell her that the dog had energy. That's a lie. That's a lie. That would not have been a reason for an emergency call. The dog has a lot of energy. Do you understand, Miss Eisen? You want me to make this easier for you? Were you present when Mr. Galicia called the plaintiff?
I was. I was on the phone calling vets at the time.
Did you overhear the conversation?
Bits and pieces, not the whole thing.
Did you and or Mr. Galicia, in fact, take this energetic little dog and put her on a bar stool?
No.
Tell me what happened.
We let Puka out of the room. She was running around. She tried to jump for the stool. She missed and broke her paw.
Did you, Mr. Galicia, offer to pay part of the vet bill?
Yes.
If the incident happened as you both are suggesting to me, that's not your fault. If, on the other hand, you let the dog out and you were trying to exercise and you were trying to calm her down and put her up on the bar stool so that you could continue with your workout, which is what you were doing, you would be responsible. Yes.
Your Honor, I just want to say that there was no precedent for them to even go in my room and take my dog out.
I don't care about that.
Okay.
I don't care about that, actually. You have a puppy in the room, you're not home, you don't even know if he's home. The puppy hears other people outside crying and whimpering to come outside. That's very annoying. Aside from everything else, it's very annoying and unkind, actually, to the dog, in addition to the other people who live in the house. I mean, you get a dog, you're supposed to be around all the time or take it with you. So I don't care what your rules are. I'm just trying to visualize. I've had puppies all my life. You know, they'll try to jump up on a couch or they'll try to jump up, but it just doesn't make sense to me for a puppy to try to jump up on a bar stool and then fall. It makes sense to me that the puppy fell off the bar stool. It also doesn't make sense to me putting a puppy on a bar stool. Do you have any other evidence to show me that that's how the dog was injured?
No, only what they told me on the phone.
Okay. You went to the vet.
Correct.
You met them at the vet. Both of them?
Yes.
Who paid the vet bill?
I did.
What conversation did you have, if any, with them at the vet?
You know, it was during COVID, and I had to give the dog to the nurse at the door, and they took her inside, and I had to wait outside.
So you met them at the vet. You saw the puppy was injured. The vet took the puppy, and then there's a period of time that all three of you were standing there.
Yes.
Now, at that time, look at me. At that time, a normal person, you look like a normal person, would have said, tell me exactly what happened.
Zoe nods.
Really, tell me exactly what happened. So you had to have had a discussion. Now, I want you to be very careful what you tell me. Tell me what the discussion was that you had with them while waiting for Puka to be examined by the vet.
The conversation was brief. They said, do you want us to wait here with you? Because I had to wait outside, and I was in my car, they were in their car. I said, no, I don't want you to wait. You can just go back to the house, and I'll wait here to see what happens with Puka. That was the end of the conversation because he had already told me what happened on the phone.
Well, on the phone you say that they were working out and they put Puka on a bar stool, the dog fell off.
Yeah, they placed her on there for some, I don't know why, and she fell, and that her arm was broken as a result.
Well, they didn't know her arm was broken. They said it was injured.
I mean, if there's a picture of Puka when I handed her to the vet and her arm's like this,
So they were concerned enough to take her. The normal question would be, why did you place her on the bar stool? That would be a question that I would say immediately. What was she doing on a bar stool?
I wasn't indignant in the moment. I was just trying to decide what the next step was, get her to the vet. She wasn't at the vet. She was suffering.
Oh, no.
She was in pain.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes,
I'm not discarding that. I'm just saying to you, if one of my children or one of my grandchildren was playing with one of my puppies when I had a puppy and said to me, I put the puppy on a bar stool, because I have bar stools in my house, and she fell off and it looks like she broke her leg, my first reaction would be, what the hell were you thinking when you put the dog on a bar stool? See, that would be my first reaction, but I could be a vicious person.
Sarah smiles. Caption coming up.
My question to you is today the first time, because you all lived together for months, is today the first time that you heard this different version of the events of April 18th?
Yes, today is the first time I'm hearing a totally different
version.
Yes.
Christian shakes his head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Zoe, Christian, and Margaret.
Zoe Emdelil says her former roommates Christian Galicia and his friend Margaret Eisen are responsible for vet bills after Zoe's puppy broke her leg.
Now, it would be like saying, I put the dog on a shelf in the living room, and the dog fell off the shelf in the living room. Your first question is, what did you put the dog on a shelf for?
I agree.
But you didn't ask that question. That's what you say. They say that the dog made a leap and broke its foot. I think that what you're doing is, because I've read your complaint, what you're saying is it was a result of them taking the dog out of the bedroom in opposition to what you had instructed them to do with the dog, which was leave the dog in your room. That sounds to me more plausible reason for you to think that they're responsible for the vet bill, that as a result of their playing with the dog, if the dog was in the bedroom, the dog would not have been injured, and therefore they took the dog out of the bedroom, therefore they're responsible for the vet bill. Well, that would have been plausible for me to say, well, she could think that. But it has to be a big leap for me to say, I put the dog on a shelf, and the dog fell off the shelf and broke its paw, and I, as the owner of a 3-month-old puppy, didn't say to you, at that moment it would have come out instinctively. Where was your brain when you put the dog on the shelf? If that's what they said. Now you can stand up.
A young man rises.
Your last name?
Suckelman.
Okay, so were you privy to any conversation between the plaintiff and either of the defendants where either of them acknowledged that they put the dog on a stool?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Sure. I had my door creaked open, and I suddenly heard Puka scream. I came out as a normal reaction saying, what's going on? And they were huddled around Puka, and they said that
Look at me.
Sure. They said that they had set Puka on the stool because they were doing an exercise. They needed, and she was, running around, scampering around. They needed to set her down. So they set her on the stool so that they wouldn't interrupt their workout. And
just a second, who told you that?
They did.
Who's the they? I mean, they're both talking at the same time?
No. Christian explained this to me, and she was also present.
She was present?
Yes, they were working out.
Just a second.
Sure.
I want you to go back and tell me they were huddled around Puka.
Mm-hmm.
You came in, you said, what happened?
Yes.
Okay. And Christian said to you,
Christian said to me that the reason that they had set Puka on the stool was because she's a high-energy dog. She scampers around. They're doing push-ups or sit-ups or whatever kind of workout they're doing, and it's being interrupted by the dog because the dog is very affectionate and wants attention. So this closest object to them.
Did he say all this to you?
Yes.
He said all of this to you. And he said, and the closest object was the stool.
Yes.
Mr. Galicia, you recall that conversation?
No. I do recall Jimmy coming out.
Right here.
I do recall Jimmy coming out after Puka had injured herself. And at that time, that's when I told Jimmy that Puka had injured herself.
No, he asked you what happened.
Yeah.
He says that you told him that you were doing exercises and she was very affectionate, so you were trying to do push-ups and you set her on the stool so that she wouldn't be licking your face or he says you told him that.
And I have to disagree with him.
What did you tell him? He came out. You remember he came out.
I told him that Puka was running around, went for the stool, jumped for the stool, and as a result, injured herself.
That's what you told him? Okay. Now, this is my next question. So during the time that you were there, this incident happened on April 18th. The dog went to the vet. The vet had a bill. So you all must have been present in the house during conversations that you had over payment of the bill.
Yes.
And there had to be at some point, other than today, that Mr. Galicia said that it wasn't his fault the dog jumped at the stool. In what period of time after the dog was injured did you have these discussions in the house when he said, that's not what I said, that I set her up there? Or are you telling me that this is the first time you're hearing this story?
Well, it's the first time I'm hearing it being denied and, fabricated.
Okay. Tell me what you heard on the day it happened.
I was in my room.
No, you told me that.
Okay.
You told me that.
Right.
And then you came outside and you told me what he told you.
Correct.
That's a different story from what he's telling today. My question to you is today the first time, because you all lived together for months, is today the first time that you heard this different version of the events of April 18th?
Yes. Today is the first time I'm hearing a totally different
version.
Version, yes.
Okay. How many times had you discussed as roommates what happened on that day after April 18th?
I believe the way it went is that Zoe requested payment and it wasn't happening. And so I, being a roommate, I stepped in and offered to be a mediator. I said, can I sit down? Maybe we should have a talk as roommates and just have a discussion.
Do you remember when that was?
Pinpointing the exact date,
A month?
Yeah, a few weeks later.
A few weeks later?
Yeah, and that was after repeated attempts.
To get the vet bill paid?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
I'm not asking you. So you said I'm a roommate, maybe I could be a mediator.
Correct.
Let me hear about this mediation.
It was essentially similar to what we're doing today. Zoe explained her feelings, her situation, and Christian did the same.
Well, I want you to tell me exactly what Christian said.
It was a discussion of logic. It was, were you here, and did you put Puka on the stool? Yes or no? And when he said yes, we said, well, then what in your mind makes you think that after Puka had the accident that you are not liable for that damage which you caused? It was a simple discussion.
Okay, and what was his response?
Caption coming up.
It's $2,500 on you unless one of you wants to acknowledge that I was the one that put the dog on the stool. Two people don't take a puppy that weighs 3 pounds and put the puppy on a stool. One genius does that.
Zoe smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Zoe, Christian, and Margaret.
Zoe Emdelel has accused former roommate Christian Galicia and his friend Margaret Eisen of injuring her puppy. claiming they put the puppy on a bar stool.
Okay, and what was his response?
At the end of the discussion, I was actually quite surprised because I felt like if we can just talk to him rationally, that he might respond.
So you went through the scenario
Yeah.
of, well, if you acknowledge that you put Puka on the stool and that she fell and was injured, what logical reason do you have for not being responsible for her injury, ergo being responsible for the bill? So that was your argument.
Yes.
And I want you to think, if you can, what his response was.
I remember his response. His response was simply, I'm not responsible for it. That was it. It was cut and dry. He didn't explain his situation or his emotions. It was just, I'm not responsible for it. And, you know, that was it.
Okay. You remember that conversation, sir?
I remember having a conversation with them. Yes.
Yes, this sort of mediation intervention. You remember that? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And let me start by telling you, I find his version of what he just said to me with regard to this mediation, I find it not only plausible, but very intelligent, people sitting down and trying as roommates to resolve something. So he said to you, which I believe, can you state a reason why, given the fact that you acknowledge that you put Puka on the stool and she fell off and injured her paw, what reason do you have for not feeling that you are responsible? That would involve an answer. He says that your response was, I don't feel I'm responsible. Was your answer more lengthy than that?
I told them that I did not feel responsible because the dog had injured herself. The day of, the dog was super energetic.
Now, I don't want to hear the day of. Is that what you said to him at this meeting?
Yes.
You said to him, I don't feel I'm responsible because that day the dog was super energetic and
because originally there was no conversation ever held about me being responsible for the dog. I have actual proofs of Zoe saying that she takes full responsibility of the dog.
she wasn't home.
Yeah, no, this was a previous text message. I was concerned that my deposit for the apartment.
I'm asking you a simple question. In response to his question, which I actually believe that he put to you, there was no denial of the fact I didn't put the dog on the stool. You said, I just don't feel responsible. No. And what you're saying to me is, so you did have that discussion.
Yes.
And this is the first time that you're hearing this story of the dog jumped for the stool instead of being put on a shelf. This is the first time you're hearing this story?
This is the first time I'm hearing an alternate version of that story.
Okay. Can I see your vet bills, please?
Zoe hands documents to Kevin.
I just wanted to say that she had to go for multiple treatments over the course of her arm healing. So it was not all at one time. It was over the course of a couple months.
No, I just want to see what the whole total vet bill was.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judy reviews the bills.
Did you add up these figures?
Yes.
What are they?
$2,550.25.
Your bill.
Right.
Your bill, unless either one of you want to tell me that it was me that put the dog on the stool.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It's $2,500 on you unless one of you wants to acknowledge that I was the one that put the dog on the stool. Two people don't take a puppy that weighs 3 pounds and put the puppy on a stool. One genius does that. So unless one of you wants to acknowledge which one of you geniuses did that, then you're both responsible for the vet bill. Anybody want to step forward? No? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
Christian, then Zoe.
Honestly, I'm very shocked about the judge's decision.
Well, I'm just really grateful that she was able to see that their story was completely ridiculous and they were obviously responsible.
And ultimately, it's not our dog, and accidents happen with puppies.
It was horrible, and once I saw her and the way that her arm looked, and, you know, she was so pathetic running around with the cast.
We had let her out because the dog had been crying, had been whining, and had been neglected a lot.
It was a horrible experience, and I'm just really glad that we're finally able to have someone take some responsibility.
This was a common thing that she would leave for hours and hours. The dog was crying. We didn't feel it was any kind of wrongdoing to take her out of the room and let her out.
I feel like that's the only sane thing to do, you know? I mean, we're roommates, we're friends, you know, you caused the incident. You should just step up and pay it.
I love Puka. She's such an adorable dog.
Sarah and Judy.
That case was a great demonstration of how common sense and logic can play a huge role in your decision making on a case. Just logically speaking, what would your gut reaction be? What would your next question be?
You know, I went back and forth, as you saw in that case, because my initial reaction, I guess I'm always looking for a culprit, but then I listened to her roommate, and her roommate was compelling. He was so clear, and it clearly would have been at that point in the question that the defendant would have said, it's not my fault because the dog jumped.
All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Good morning, Judge.
Morning. Be seated, please.
Kevin.
Case number 1031, Bonneville versus McCulley.
Thank you. Miss Bonneville, in 2018, your Old English Bulldog had a litter of puppies. The defendant, who was your cousin, agreed to foster one of those puppies because you couldn't keep that dog in your home. It is your claim that he breached the contract with regard to that dog, and you're suing him for $10,000.
Yeah.
You really don't want the puppy returned. The puppy has been with him since 2018. Still lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I want you to get that right out of your mind. After 3 years, I assume that you like the dog.
She's my baby.
And the dog likes him, and you really don't care about the dog. When was the last time you saw the dog? A month and year.
It would be.
Shouldn't be so long ago.
I'm sorry. It was August 2019.
Okay. If that's the case, that's a couple of years ago. And so when I say there's no way you're getting back this dog, so this is all about money. Now, when you gave Mr. McCauley this puppy, you drew up a contract with him.
Yes.
I'd like to see the contract.
I have that right here.
Just give it to me. Give it to Kevin. Kevin will give it to me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kevin hands Judy a document.
Now, before we get into all of the variables about this contract, while we're doing that, Sarah, take a look at this.
She hands it to Sarah.
Was this the first time in 2018 that you had a litter of puppies?
Yes, that was my first litter ever.
You were the owner of the female dog?
Yes.
The female dog lived with you?
Yes.
So you had one dog at the time?
Yes.
Could not have two?
That's
either a yes or a no.
I was not able to have the second dog.
Fine, which is why you gave him the dog to foster. Don't?
Sky lowers his hand.
Since 2018, have you had other litters with the same dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many? How many
I believe
times?
it was 4 other litters.
4 since 2018?
Yes. They can breed twice a year.
You breed them twice a year?
Yes.
Just a second. I'll see the contract back. You breed this one female 2 times a year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sarah, look up and see what's recommended for breeding. So this dog had 6 litters in 3 years.
Her last heat, I retired.
So you breed her every time she goes into season, which is twice a year.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that's not right. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
The American Kennel Club states that the legal litter limit is 6 per lifetime for a bulldog, Your Honor.
And how many times a year?
I'll look it up.
Look it up. I know I've had many dogs over my lifetime and bought them from reputable breeders. I never knew a breeder that bred their dog every time they went into heat because the dog's body has to have time to nurture itself. I'm just telling you, I never knew a breeder that I bought a dog from that bred the same female dog twice a year. I just never did. Maybe I'm wrong. Sarah is going to continue her due diligence.
It just says recommended for the safety of the female dog to 3 to 4 total a year.
It's impossible. They only go into heat twice a year.
According to the American Kennel Club.
Do you have dogs anyplace else, Miss Bonneville?
I have one other female and one other male. They're both Old English Bulldogs.
So that you breed those 2 dogs together?
I don't breed them together. The male is in the same family.
Let me read this contract.
A handwritten document.
So this is a clear agreement, Mr. McCauley. It says, I, Sky McCauley, will be fostering Ann Bonneville's dog, Paris, from this date forward. Ann will retain all rights, including breeding and the right to take the puppy back at any time. Ann will take care of all vet visits. Breeding will be paid by 1 pup per litter.
That was from her mother, not from the dog.
You can't explain terms of an agreement if I don't have a question about them.
Okay.
I don't have a question about this. This says breeding will be paid by 1 pup per litter. And that suggests to me that you were going to retain physical control of the dog, and the dog would be bred, and each time the dog was bred, you would get 1 puppy from that litter, either to keep or to sell. That's the plain language of this. I absolutely understand what this says. Okay? So each of you claim that the arrangements in this contract were breached by the other. So let me go through them. You got the dog in 2018.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, from 2018 now to 2021, a dog like this goes to the vet at least once a year.
Yes, ma'am.
In 2018, did you take the dog Paris to the vet?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you have that vet bill?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Please, we'll just bring them all to you.
There's no question before you, sir. Just get me the vet bill.
All the vet bills.
I don't want all the vet bills.
Okay, sir.
I want the vet bills from 2018. This is Kevin's exercise. He may have to walk back and forth 2 or 3 times.
Sky hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
That bill for Paris was $134.38. Miss Bonneville, did you pay that bill? That's either a yes or a no.
That bill was not paid by me, no.
That bill was not paid by you. Okay, so if that bill was not paid, that visit didn't take place in 2018. That visit took place in September of 2019.
We waited approximately a year for her to take the dog to a vet, and she never did.
Just a second. So that was 2019, and the plaintiff didn't pay. And at that time, in September of 2019, you hadn't bred the dog, nor had she asked for the dog back.
No, we have not bred the dog. No.
Okay. Do you acknowledge, Miss Bonneville, that in September of 2019, that the dog Paris had not been bred and you had not asked for the dog back? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. So the dog hadn't been bred and you had not asked for the dog back. Did Mr. McCauley present to you or advise you what this bill of $134.38 was when he took the dog to the vet?
He did not.
Did you advise her?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Tell me when.
I called her on the phone and told her that we took her to the vet, what the bill was, and she said that she would pay us with the next puppy that was supposed to be coming up from Princess.
She would pay you with the next puppy?
From Princess, not Paris.
Okay. Did she give you a puppy for the vet?
No, ma'am.
She did not?
No.
Now, subsequent to this, did Princess have a litter of puppies?
She did have puppies after that, yes.
And did you, in fact, give him a puppy from that litter?
That was not our agreement, and I did not. I did give him a puppy out of a prior litter. He got $900 for that, and I have a lot of communication about that in here.
Okay. Did you get a puppy from a prior litter?
I got a puppy the day I took Paris home because it was to pay for the first 6 months of her being in my property. Yep.
Of care?
Yep.
Okay. Is that correct that he got the puppy the day he took Paris home?
No, yeah.
Or within a week of that?
No, it was April following bringing Paris home.
Well, what date did he bring Paris home?
November 4th of 2018.
And when did he get a puppy?
April 6th or 7th.
Of what year?
2019.
Well, that was before this vet visit, so that was owed to him.
In the contract, Your Honor, it says I would give him a puppy out of Paris's litters, out of the dogs we were talking about.
No, it actually didn't say that.
It didn't say that.
It didn't say that, but it didn't say that. I am interpreting it that way. But clearly, you interpreted it some other way because before this vet bill became owed, you gave him a puppy. Now, you wouldn't have given him a puppy for which he got $900 unless you had some sort of an agreement.
We had a side agreement, Your Honor.
And what was the side agreement?
The side agreement was I would give him a puppy to help with things such as taking care of the dog. He had actually gotten a puppy long before what we agreed on.
Just a second. I understand that. I understand. Can I see in writing that he agreed to take this one puppy and take care of the dog forever and not make the dog his? I would just like to see it, because right now you've breached the contract by not paying a vet bill. So what I want to see is where you modified the agreement in April of 2019, that the one puppy that you gave him modified this agreement so that you were no longer responsible for any bills for the dog. Do you understand my question? And if you want it repeated, Whitney is going to repeat it for you.
I'm
Do you want it repeated?
Yes.
Whitney, you want to read that back to the plaintiff, please?
Question. So what I want to see is where you modify the agreement in April of 2019. The one puppy that you gave him in 2019 modified this agreement so that you were no longer responsible for any bills for the dog.
I'm not saying that I wasn't going to give him any more puppies.
Now, we're not talking about puppies, we're talking about money.
Or money. I
money.
actually handed
It says
him.
that you would take care of the vet visits.
Anne winces and raises her hand. Caption coming up.
He had a discussion with you about paying the vet bill, and you declined.
I had set up an appointment at my vet.
I don't care about that.
And
you have to understand, I don't care about your vet. This contract doesn't say he has to take the dog to your vet.
And later today.
So you were raised by your grandparents, you always lived there, you didn't move out until 2011.
Yeah.
So their loss was hardest on you.
Yes.
I got it. Now I'm creating a family picture.
A woman nods. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Anne and Sky.
Anne Bonneville claims her cousin, Sky McCauley, owes her for the value of a puppy. Sky is countersuing for breach of contract.
It says that you would take care of the vet visits.
So I gave him this puppy in
April.
lieu of that. I sold the puppy and gave him the cash.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, breeding dogs like this is more of a puppy factory than the care that you take in breeding dogs and not using them for money. Since 2019, have you given Mr. McCauley any money for vet bills? He's going to show me the rest of the vet bills.
No, the
answer is either yes or no.
No.
Has he asked you for any money?
Guy's not talked to me since October.
Of what year?
2019.
Okay. Did you tell her that you took the dog to the vet
Yes,
again?
ma'am. That was the last time I talked to her.
That was the last time you talked to her?
I have not talked to her in almost 3 years.
And why is that?
I don't associate myself with people like her.
So I'm going to take this contract and disregard it because it sounds to me as if you knew as a pet breeder that animals have to be seen every year by a vet. He did say he told you about the first visit to the vet.
I had set up an appointment at my vet.
I don't care about that.
And
you have to understand, I don't care about your vet. This contract doesn't say he has to take the dog to your vet. This contract says you will pay the vet bills. Your claim is dismissed. Now we're getting to the counterclaim. Money losses resulting from a broken contract. Well, you have the dog, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, actual and punitive damage resulting from defamation of character. Now we're going to hear about that. Defamation of character.
So first up, Your Honor, she went on Facebook, and does anyone know if a guy named Sky McCauley is here selling OEB bulldogs? The mom is a dog he stole from me, which then I had people contacting me. Her coworker sent us to this saying, hey, you might want to look at this. It might be interesting. Her coworker seen it, and then we got posted on 9 different other websites.
Does anyone know if a guy named Sky McCauley is in here selling puppies? Would that be 2019?
That was this year.
This year?
I thought he was breeding my dog without communicating anything with me.
That's okay. I don't think, Ms. Bonneville, that there's anything wrong with you asking the question, does anyone know if a guy named Sky McCauley is in here selling EOB puppies? The mom is a dog he stole from me, so you're calling him a thief, which is calling him a criminal. That you can't say. That's defaming him. Okay, this is the way I'm going to move. Plaintiff breached the contract first by not paying the vet bill, so she gets nothing. And you have Paris.
Yes, ma'am.
And Paris had puppies.
Never. Paris has been spaded.
The fact that he's had the dog spayed suggests to me that he's not going to breed the dog, and the dog is going to be a family pet. Probably, considering your breeding program is a blessing. However, even though she should not have used the word stole my dog, which is exactly what happened, you have other things you want to
Yes,
show?
Your Honor. She went around town posting my copy of my address as well as the contract on vets' doors and telling them not to see any of my animals.
Okay. Well, we are going to give you an order today that indicates that Paris is your dog.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Everybody's happy. Except me. Thank you.
Anne is interviewed, then Sky.
I believe that it was absolutely unfair and unjust.
She's an abusive, neglectful breeder.
Everything he said is a falsification, and he got away with it.
You know what that's an example of, Sarah?
Judy and Sarah.
Even judges bring pieces of themselves to a case. We don't come with a clean slate. We come with certain feelings and emotions about things that are sensitive to. And I'm one of those people who were really sensitive about puppy mills. And they both got what they deserved, and I hope that he got what he wanted, because clearly he wasn't going to use this dog as a breeding tool for money. That's a very tough case. It makes me sad for all those animals that are bred in cages. Very sad.
Case 1017, Williamson Jr. versus Williamson. All parties, please step forward.
Frank Williamson is suing his sister, Cheryl Williamson, for the cost of tools and construction materials.
Mr. Williamson, this is your sister.
Yes.
Your father passed away recently.
Yes.
What was the date of his passing?
I don't know. I don't know
Just
exact
a second.
date.
The answer is I don't know the date.
know.
My father passed away. Do you know the date of your father's passing?
May 22nd.
Of what year?
2021.
This is what the case is about. Mr. Williamson, it is your claim that there was a time when you moved in to your father's house.
Yes.
And your mother was still alive?
Yes. My mom had a stroke.
In what year did your mother have a stroke?
2005.
When you moved into the house, had she already been ill?
Yes.
Who was taking care of her?
I was.
No, you weren't living there yet. I said when you moved into the house, had she already had the stroke? You said yes.
Yes.
Who was caring for her before you moved into the house?
My daughter.
Who were you?
I'm the granddaughter of, I'm his daughter.
Okay, stand up. Is what you have raised hand suggest to me that you were living with your grandfather?
I was living in a house until 2008 when my aunt moved in.
Okay, so you were actually taking care of your grandmother?
Yes.
After she got sick?
Yes.
Was your grandfather okay?
He had a heart attack and he was recovering, and then she had a stroke.
Sounds like you had your hands full.
I did.
Did you have any other help?
No, my dad and my other aunts that lived in California at the time, they all came over occasionally to help out and relieve me so I can have some type of life.
Okay. You lived there until what year?
Until 2008.
And continued to help take care of your grandparents?
Yes.
What about this aunt? Did she come to visit?
She moved out here from Atlanta in 2008, 2009.
And is that when she came to live at the house?
Yes, and then that's when I moved out.
And your father was still there?
Yes.
In 2008, your father was still there. What's your first name?
Cheryl.
Cheryl. So Cheryl moved in, you moved out. She sort of assumed whatever duties you were doing with then just your father, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I moved there in 2011.
Oh, well.
Got the dates wrong. Would that be right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you were actually there then for quite some time.
I lived in the house since I was 5.
Did your mother live in the house?
For a brief moment.
So you were really raised by your grandparents?
Yes.
Now I got it. So you were raised by your grandparents, you always lived there, you didn't move out until 2011?
Yeah.
So their loss was hardest on you?
Yes.
I got it. Now I'm creating a family picture. Do you know anything about the disagreements that started to exist between your father and your Aunt Cheryl?
No.
You don't know anything?
I only know from the time when I moved back in 2019. That's when everything started to come to a head.
Caption coming up.
I have a daughter and I didn't want her to be traumatized by any of the family drama.
Very smart. Your grandparents did a very good job.
Thank you.
They did. Good for them, good for you.
Unica nods. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Frank, his daughter Unica, and Cheryl.
Frank Williamson claims his sister Cheryl Williamson threw out his building materials. Cheryl is countersuing for repayment of a loan.
Tell me why you've moved back in 2019.
My grandfather ran into a wall and he was unable to drive and take himself places, so he asked me to come back to help him out, to take him and his friends to the grocery store on the weekends.
At that time, your father was still living there?
No.
What about Aunt Cheryl?
She was there.
What did she do in the house?
She occasionally cooked and occasionally cleaned.
Did you get along with her?
Yes, I did. I actually love all of my aunts.
Good.
Cheryl raises her eyebrows.
Mr. Williamson, I want you to tell me what happened when you decided to move back home.
My father, he told me...
Don't tell me, just a second. Don't tell me what your father told you. I'm cross. Are you cold?
A little bit.
I know it's freezing in here. I like it like a meat locker. Some people get cold. This is your claim. Your claim is that you had discussions with your father, which I'm not going to get into because I can't verify them. And he told you that he wanted you to live in a guest house, that he wanted you to build behind the main house. So you bought a lot of tools and lumber. And after your father passed away, your sister got rid of all of that. Did she dispose of the property before or after your father passed away?
Before.
Before. Miss Williamson, you went back and forth to visit your grandfather?
Well, yes, I lived in the back house until the issues started to arise. I have a daughter, and I didn't want her to be traumatized by any of the family drama.
Very smart. Your grandparents did a very good job.
Thank you.
They did. Good for them, good for you. And Miss Williamson, when the property was disposed of, your grandfather and your father was alive.
Right.
He was occupying his own home.
Correct.
Okie dokie. Now, let's talk about your counterclaim. You can have a seat now, Miss Williamson. I'm not going to get you further involved in all this drama.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You have a counterclaim.
Yeah.
Your counterclaim is for loans that your father allegedly made to your brother during his lifetime.
Yes.
And you are the executor of his estate.
No, I am.
You're the executor of his estate.
No, he's not.
May I see the documents that you have? And I'd also like to see a copy of your dad's will, please.
Frank hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
Thank you.
She reviews them.
Okay, well, this is an old trust, sir.
This is from the recorder's office.
May I see it, please?
Cheryl hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
So this document gives the defendant power of attorney. I just want to know if she could sue on behalf of the state for this alleged loan that her father made for you. So after you were granted the power of attorney, you went to court and changed the living trust.
Yes.
Got it. So let us assume for the moment that your father provided you with a power of attorney to sue on his behalf, and that was in 2020.
Yes.
When did you discover that you believe that your father made a loan to your brother?
My father got a $30,000 loan, and he gave him $15,000. But as I look in this checkbook, he actually gave him $17,000.
Just a second. He took out a $30,000 loan.
Yes.
And he gave half of it to his son.
Right. And he
So-
said...
Just a second. And he's allowed to do that.
Yes, but...
When did you find that out?
2019.
And so you knew about that in 2019, that your father had made a gift to your brother.
No.
No, just a second. You said your father gave him $15,000. He took out a loan, and he gave him half.
That he
Did
was
your
supposed
father
to pay back.
I'd like to see proof of that.
He didn't have him to sign a promissory note.
Well, that's a problem. Miss
But
Williamson.
in his check account, it has...
So what? I
Okay,
give my
well-
children money all the time. You know, it's so interesting that your father, who was clearly a lovely man and had a lovely wife, had a good life, and accumulated some money, and had a house, had 2 children who, after he's gone, are really destroying that good footprint. I don't understand that over some old tools and lumber and something that you cannot prove was a loan to his child.
Well, I only can go by what he told me.
You can't go. I can't go by what he told you.
Well, I told my father you shouldn't have done that.
I don't care what he told you. This house that your father had, just curious, was it sold?
No, I'm living in the home right now.
Okay. And do you intend to stay there?
Yes.
And pursuant to the property settlement, what did your brother, if anything, receive from your father's estate? Just either.
Nothing.
That's a number. That's a number.
0.
Well, sounds to me like you're living in the house that you didn't live at for a whole time. Where is your niece living?
She doesn't live with me. I don't know where she lives.
Was she living there with her daughter at the time your father passed? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Well, I moved out this year because I had to call the police because she kept changing the locks on the doors when I come home from work. So every time I would go home, when I try to get in, she'll change the locks.
Got it. I got the story.
That's not true, yeah.
I don't care whether it's true or not. You got the house. She's been living there since she was 5 years old, and she's not living there anymore. She was, in fact, living there until your father died.
No, she was living with her grandmother. My father asked me, how do you think about Yanika moving in? And I want to be nice. I want to say no.
Okay. He raised her. Miss Williamson, your case is dismissed. So is yours, Mr. Williamson. You got a house? Is it in your name now?
Yeah.
Good for you. We're done here.
All right.
Court adjourned.
Unica.
My grandparents would not want this fighting going on.
We don't get along at all. I don't get along with my niece. I don't get along with him.
I feel that family being here in court for this matter is ridiculous.
I couldn't imagine fighting with any one of my siblings after not one, but both of our parents pass away.
You know, there's a good lesson takeaway. Nobody likes to think about dying, but if adults are smart, no matter how old they are, they should have a document that is clear and unequivocal, that's called a will, that tells their children, their grandchildren, their friends exactly.
Sarah Hansberry are suing car seller Michelle Maley for the cost of a vehicle and repairs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Kevin.
Hello. Case number 1126, Moon Hansberry versus Maley.
Thank you. How did you find this car, Mr. Moon?
Facebook, Marketplace.
Have you ever purchased a car by Facebook before?
No, ma'am.
Did you know the defendant before you purchased her car?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live? In what jurisdiction?
Minnesota.
And you live in Minnesota as well?
Correct.
You live close to each other, I assume.
Within a half an hour.
That's pretty close. What kind of car was it?
It's a 2011 Chevy Avail.
And what was the purchase price you agreed to?
$1,200.
Is that correct?
It was $1,300.
On what date did you go and look at the car?
July 15th.
When she listed the car, what did she list the car for?
$1,300.
How much money did you bring with you?
I brought $1,300.
How much did you give her?
$1,200.
Tell me why.
Because it's an older car, it had higher mileage, so I talked her down on price.
But you gave her $1,200.
Yes, ma'am.
Not $8.
No.
Did you take the money out of the bank?
No, I had another vehicle. I took over a title loan against it.
You took a title loan against another car?
My other car, yes.
When did you do that?
July 13th.
Can I see proof of that, please?
Sarah Hansberry hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She puts on her reading glasses, then reviews a financial document.
You took out a loan for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have to pay them back $12,220.
That's 330% interest rate on the loan.
Well, the annual percentage rate is 107.7%.
Yep.
What other bills do you have to pay?
Rent, utilities, food.
What happened to this car?
Right now it's in Wisconsin. I still have it.
You still paying this loan?
Yes.
You took the car on the 15th. Let us assume that you paid her $1,200 for the car. She was asking $13,000.
Right.
I'll get to the middle of the story in a second. I'm going to the end of the story. You resold the car. To whom?
Her name was Naomi. I don't know her last name offhand.
Where did you find her?
On Craigslist, I believe. I posted the car after we took it back.
On what date?
We took the car back August 20th, so I'm guessing probably August 22nd, 21st.
right after I took the car back.
How much were you asking for the car?
$1,300.
And how much did she pay you for the car?
I think she gave us $1,300.
You have to understand, if I determine that he gave you $1,200, you have to give him his money back. You understand that?
Initially, yes, but there was expenses that I had.
I don't give a rat's behind about your expenses. You're not going to sell the car for $2,500 or $2,600. That's worth $12.
Agreed.
If you took the car back from him for whatever reason, you're going to let me know what the reason is. You can't sell the same car twice. Okay, so now you're going to tell me what happened with the car.
I drove back and forth to work a couple times, and in the midst of working an 8-hour shift, the car went dead. I had to get it jumped.
Okay, on what date was that?
10 days after that we had purchased it, so it was the 25th that he realized the problems, because I remember the phone calls
Just a
we
second.
made.
And this car doesn't have any guarantees, warranties, anything else? You bought a used car, you bought an old car for $1,200. 10 days later, it stopped running. You know, she's not responsible for that, right?
Yes.
Right.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened next?
The next day, jumped it, took it home, and within an hour sitting in the parking lot where we lived, it was dead.
Okay.
It was an electrical issue.
Okay.
So I rented a U-Haul and towed it 5 hours down to my mechanic, because we've been friends 20 years. He fixed it. He called me, told me it was done. But between the kids being in school and me working, we couldn't get down there right away to pick it up.
How much later?
A couple weeks.
It was approximately probably a month later,
A month.
because it was right after I had had surgery, and that was part of what was taking up time.
Okay, so now it's at least a month and a half since you purchased this car.
Yes.
Okay, and so you went and picked it up.
We went down there and we pulled in the parking lot, and Sarah said, "Where's the car?" So I went inside the shop, and my mechanic came out and told me that Miss Mackey came and picked it up, paid the bill and picked the car up and took it back home.
Ball's in your court.
On the 6th day after you had the car, I think July 21st, he texted me and told me that be prepared because I'm going to get $400 in parking tickets in your name. You sold me a lemon.
May I see that, please?
Yes, you sure can.
4 days later, you didn't have trouble with the car 4 days later.
So it was 6 days. So it was the 15th they bought it. On the 21st was this first message from him. And so this is when they bought the car, and then that's when the message started with he's going to...
Michelle hands her phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a text exchange.
Did you check out the lemon law in Minnesota? Sure. What do you think the lemon law in Minnesota is, sir?
I really don't have any idea.
What did you mean when you threatened her you will be getting $400 worth of parking tickets in the mail?
I said it over anger. I contacted her by phone and told her that the car is having electrical issues, and can you please do something to help me? Her comment was, "You bought the car for me. It's not my issue. It's your issue now."
She's right, unless Minnesota has a private lemon law.
So it was created to protect when you buy or lease a car that is still under the original manufacturer's warranty, not intended to eliminate all problems you'll ever encounter with your vehicle or from private parties. But if the private party, if it was still under manufacturer's warranty, it's
Well, not a $1,200 car.
Exactly.
Okay, so you bought the car as is, you were having trouble, you drove the car home, you drove the car to work a few times, and what you did was you did not register the car in your name, even though she had given you the title and the papers, and you threatened her that since the car was still in her name, you were going to leave it all over town and get parking tickets, which would have affected her. Right. You expect me to help you?
Joshua and Hansberry nod. Caption coming up.
She said, "I'll give you the money back for the car." And you said no.
We had the car at the mechanic at that point.
I don't care where you had the car. She offered you your money back for the car.
And later today,
Mr. Chavez says you gave him the car. You may have been a little drunk when you gave him the car, but you gave him the car, and then when he wouldn't give it back to you, you vandalized it.
A man shakes his head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Joshua Hansberry and Michelle.
Joshua Moon and Sarah Hansberry claim car seller Michelle Maley sold them a lemon that needed repairs. Michelle says they did not change the registration to their names after owning the car for weeks.
You expect me to help you?
I don't know.
Can I speak, please?
Sure.
So Josh originally had called Miss Melly and said there's a problem with the car. Can you tell us what's going on? She had said, no, there's not supposed to be any problems. I don't know of anything about this. You know, you bought the car. It's up to you. So we had said, okay, fine.
No, you didn't say, okay, fine.
No, I found out he had sent the text, and I talked to him. And I said, we need to call and find out what's going on. And so that's when we called and found out. And
found out what?
And found out that there had been no problems. It was then that we decided we were going to take it down to go get looked at. And she at one point had told us that she would give us the money back for the car. If we were to give her the car back, we said, no, we want to register it. We're going to register it.
Oh, just a minute. So she said, I'll give you the money back for the car.
Mm-hmm.
And you said no.
We had the car at the mechanic at that point.
I don't care where you had the car. She offered you your money back for the car.
Oh, hang on, let me find.
Can I say one other thing? No.
You were in effect making her a guarantor for the car by not registering it in your name, so that if you got tickets or anything else, it would be in her name. She would be the one who was penalized.
Yes, and
yes?
we had,
yes.
when we,
Good, you just made yourself an extra $1,200.
No, we had, when we brought it down to the mechanics, then we had contacted her after saying we wanted to switch the title over. We went to the DMV to switch the title, and we're told that she had...
You can't tell me what anybody told you. That's all hearsay. You had the car from the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. He drove it to work several times. You had the car in the mechanic for a month. You still had the title. You were still capable of transferring the title.
This is the title that she gave us. And on the back, it states where she signed it for the $1,200 that we paid her.
May I see
and their name. And we took it to the DMV to transfer it into our name and found out that she had called 11 days after we purchased the vehicle and requested a new title so we could not transfer it into our name.
Oh, well, that's possible. That's after your husband's text.
Well, then we contacted her to meet us at the DMV so we could...
On what date? You bought the car July 15th. July 16th, it should have been registered. 17th, it should have been registered. 18th, it should have been registered. 19th, it should have been registered.
I even offered to pay for the title transfer so that they would get it out of my name.
We went to the DMV and waited for her a number of times. I'm getting it. It was...
Whatever it is, you didn't get the car out of her name when you were supposed to. You threatened her to encumber her license and her other vehicles when you had no right to do that. She can't fully benefit, but you put her through a lot of difficulty. She had to go, retrieve the car, resell it. There's no question that everybody agrees, at least that you gave her $1,200 for the car, and you have to pay her for some of her trouble. Because the trouble was caused by you.
I had to pay the mechanic to get the car out. It was just
How much did you pay?
It was just a brake pedal sensor. It wasn't an electrical issue. It was like a small fix. But his mechanic charged $291.55.
$300, so that's $900. And you had to go to the mechanic. And how far is the mechanic? He took it to a mechanic that he liked.
5.5 hours away.
5.5 hours away. So you drove 5.5 hours one way and 5.5 hours the other way?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, it was a long drive in Wisconsin.
You get nothing. Your case is dismissed. We're over.
Court is adjourned.
Hansberry, then Michelle.
I definitely think it could have been handled better.
I think that she's a smart woman and always gets it right.
I think we should at least get money back for the car because we don't have the car.
No, it was a good car. I missed that car.
Judy.
I'm wondering whether it would be wise to put in that bill of sale that the car must be registered in your name within 48 hours, or the seller can reclaim the car and retain the purchase price, which gives you some incentive to do it. Because otherwise, you as the seller, if someone like these people did not change the registration for over a month, if that car is in an accident and hurts somebody, well, they're going to sue the driver, but they're also going to sue the owner of the car successfully. Good lesson.
Kevin.
Case number 1162, Hagen versus Chavez. Please step forward.
Harris Hagen is suing his former friend, Johnny Chavez, for the cost of a car.
Mr. Hagen, you purchased a car. Did you purchase it at auction?
No, I purchased it from a friend of mine.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Saturn View,
What year?
2005.
How much did you pay him for it?
I paid $600 for it.
Your complaint is that Mr. Chavez stole the car.
Yes.
In effect, Mr. Chavez says you gave him the car. You may have been a little drunk when you gave him the car, but you gave him the car, and then when he wouldn't give it back to you, you vandalized it. So he's got a cross-complaint. That's what the case is about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to you, Mr. Chavez. Now I know he bought the car in August of this year. He paid $600 for it. You went out drinking on what night?
I'm not sure what night, Your Honor.
Figure it out. Was it August, September, October?
September.
So it was within a month of him getting the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was on a Saturday night.
I think it was a Saturday, yes.
Well, let's be sure. Sarah, what are the dates in September on Saturday night? We're not talking about a year ago. We're talking about a month ago.
The 4th.
Okay, Mr. Chavez, was it the 4th of September?
Yes, it was.
That sound right?
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay, now, do you remember how Mr. Chavez got into possession of the car?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about it.
Eris shakes his head. Caption coming up.
You just finished the story. This
That was
whole
the second
long
offer of the
story that wasn't in here.
Second
that
offer
you
of the
made
car.
that you made up a price with him.
That was the
you were
first
gonna,
offer.
Don't try to talk
Well,
over
you're not
me.
listening.
Don't try to talk over me.
Johnny furrows his brow. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Eris and Johnny.
Eris Hagen claims his former friend, Johnny Chavez, owes for the cost of a car. Johnny is countersuing, claiming Eris vandalized the vehicle in revenge.
Okay, do you remember how Mr. Chavez got into possession of the car?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about it.
Well, I told him at first that I wanted to sell the car. He goes, I have a friend that might want to buy it. And he goes, could I show it to him? I said, yeah, you can. I go, title's in the glove box. Just in case you get pulled over.
Slowly, so I can hear you.
Just in case you get pulled over, you have the title, so you have possession of the vehicle,
So you hadn't transferred the title to your name?
Not at the time, no.
Did he tell you his friend's name?
Teresa.
Who's Teresa?
She is a friend of mine.
What does Teresa do?
I take care of Teresa. She's blind, so there's no way she was gonna buy a car.
When you say you take care of her, what do you do for her?
I help her get things. I give her rides to the store.
Do you get paid for doing that by
I don't.
any governmental
I do not.
agency?
I do not.
What car do you use to take her?
I used my Dodge Magnum. The engine has blown on it, so when Eris came to me about a car, it was the perfect time.
Oh, you didn't have a car at that time. So it was a perfect time for you to
shop for a car, yes.
To shop around for a car.
Absolutely.
For Teresa, because you were doing her business.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, somebody take out the title, whoever has the title, and hand it to Kevin.
Johnny hands a document to Kevin.
Thank you. Kevin, why don't you just go back to your spot and hold on to that. So now you look at the car and he says to you, I know somebody who might need that. He says it was Teresa. You say it was Teresa. He knows Teresa. He takes care of Teresa. And his car had blown, so he didn't have a vehicle. So it was a perfect time for him. That's what he says. And what do you say to him?
I said, yes, you can show her the car. He said it was her and her friend, because I knew she was blind. So I was like, well, how is she going to buy the car, but her friend.
So you knew she was blind?
Yes.
So when he said he would be interested, did you quote him a price?
I did.
What price did you quote him?
I said $3,000.
Well, you had the car for a relatively short period of time. You hadn't transferred the title. What did you do to the car?
I did an oil change on it, and that's when I noticed that it needed some front-end work. And I told him, you can show her the car, but I need it back immediately because I have to repair the front end.
Mr. Hagen, you paid $600 for the car. You did an oil change, so that cost $30. It needed other work on the car that you said you wanted it back to do. But at the time you gave it to him, the car that you paid for was $600.
Correct.
That's all I want to know. And he was supposed to show the car to Teresa's friend.
Correct.
And then what happened?
I went back to Eris and asked him what he wanted for it and would he do payments.
And?
Never got an answer.
And?
I still was in possession of the vehicle, which therefore I came at him with a proposition for myself.
A proposition for yourself that?
So I could buy the car.
And?
He agreed to it.
Great. For how much?
I said I would pay $500 a month until it was paid off. I wanted to give him an extra $1,000 for it because he was doing it with the payments. So I wanted to give him $4,000 for the car in total.
Well, he had just paid $600 for it. He hadn't done any work on it.
$600. I did not know that.
Well, that's what he paid for it.
I know now.
That's what he paid for it.
He also did say he did not want to sell it to a friend. I didn't know what he meant by that, but that's what he said. I did not know. So he wouldn't tell me what he got it for, is what he's saying.
So just a minute. So tell me, Mr. Chavez, you agreed to make payments.
I did.
And you took the car.
I did.
And he signed over the title.
He did.
And you had the car. Did you make the payments?
I have not paid him yet. We agreed on a payment.
Mr. Chavez, you know how dumb some people are? It's always mind-boggling to me, Sarah, how dumb some people are. I want to just read Mr. Chavez's answer. We'd been friends for a year. My car broke down. I was looking for one. He recently bought one for $600. We were drinking, but he seemed of sound mind. He said that since he could not drive the car and I needed one, he would give me the car. He just asked if I would drive him around until he got his license back. He gave me the keys and signed the title over to me. The next day, he showed up at my house yelling and banging at my door. Well, that's your signature.
No, that was after the
fact. That's your signature, sir. And that's what you said.
That was the second
you said,
initial.
Hey, don't try to talk over me.
There was two offers to the
You
car.
didn't
Okay, that was the second
remember.
one.
You just finished the story. This
That was
whole
the second
long
offer of the
story
car.
that wasn't in here, that you made up a price with him.
That was the
you were
first
gonna,
offer.
Don't try to talk over me.
You're not listening.
Don't try to talk over me.
You're not listening.
Now, I'm going to get back to you, Mr. Hagan. Would you do me a favor, please? Go over to him and show him where to sign the title back over to Mr. Hagan.
I will not.
You will not?
No.
Okay, very good. Do you recall?
He gave me the car.
Do you recall how much money you were going to receive for being in court today?
No.
You don't know.
No, I don't.
You will not get any.
I don't know.
I'm telling
I didn't know
you,
I wasn't going to get anything anyways.
You will not get any.
Okay.
You will not.
He
get
gave me
any.
a car.
Just a second. May I have the title, please?
Kevin hands the title to Judy.
Now, I'm going to give this to you, together with an order that I have determined that this car belongs to you. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
You can take that to the Department of Motor Vehicles. It will provide them with notice because he has signed a document today when he was in court that he agreed to abide by my judgment. So I am going to give you an order that this is your car and that they are to issue you a new title to this car. Then you can call the police and have him arrested. Do you understand if he refuses to give you your car back?
I do.
It's not his car.
Do you understand?
I do.
I don't care if he understands. Do you understand?
I understand.
Kevin, would you give him a copy of this, please? Thank you very much. We will have an order for you by the end of the day. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Very good. Your counterclaim for vandalism is dismissed. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
Harris, then Johnny.
I got my car back.
He's giving me money here and there. I wanted to be nice to him and return the favor.
He just liked it so much that he wanted to keep it.
How can I steal something that he gave me a title to?
Sarah and Judy.
That case brought up one of your favorite sayings. If you tell the truth.
Restaurant and stolen property.
Court come to order.
Judge Judy enters.
Be seated, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 1090, Ray versus Luovano.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ray, according to your complaint, you subleased a restaurant from the defendant.
Yes.
He changed the locks on the door of the restaurant at some point. You claim illegally. And inside the restaurant, you had some equipment, deep freezer and some other things.
Yes.
So you were suing him for illegally changing the locks and taking items without permission. The items that you're talking about are the items that were left in the restaurant that you had purchased. That's what the case is about.
Yes.
The defendant is countersuing for breach of contract, the fact that one of the checks that you gave him for the last month that you were actually there prior to his changing the locks bounced. That's the check for June of this year, I assume, 2021,
Yes, Your Honor.
and damages that he claims were done to the property. So that's generally what the case is about.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Luovano.
Yes, Your Honor.
The restaurant that Mr. Ray was leasing, you did not own.
I did not own the property.
You did not own the property. Give me the address so I don't keep having to refer it as the property. Give me the numerical numbers.
1205.
1205. In what year did you lease that 1205?
2012.
From whom?
From shopping center.
And was it in 2012 that you put in a restaurant?
Yes, I did.
What kind of restaurant did you put in?
A high-end deli.
So from 2012 to what year was it a high-end deli?
From 2012 to 2013.
And that didn't work out?
It did, but I upgraded for what the community wanted, which was the Ojai Frosty. It was a burger joint.
So you changed it.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Lovano, you're a businessman.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm sure that you've heard the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why would you try something new if the original deli was going gangbusters?
Because the Ojai Frosty was actually doing much better than...
So in 2013, you changed it into an Ojai Frosty. And how long was it an Ojai Frosty?
Until March 15th, 2020.
Now, I would assume that your restaurant, like most restaurants, after January, February of 2020, had a deep decline in business.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fair. That was a result of the pandemic.
Yes, Your Honor.
And at that point, you decided to sublease the restaurant.
Actually, no, Your Honor.
In what month did you sublease the restaurant?
Not till September of 2020.
And in September of 2020, you found Mr. Ray.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go back a second. In 2012, what was the term of your lease?
My term of my lease was, it was a 3-year perpetual lease, so every 3 years I would be able to
There's
continue.
never a 3-year perpetual lease. It's annual options for how long?
Forever.
You have a copy of that lease?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Albert produces a document, then hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
No, you didn't, sir. I'm going to explain to you what this means. This lease that you just gave me is a 6-year lease, 3 and 3. If you want it beyond the 3 years, you have to agree with the landlord on new terms, what the rent will be and what the terms are. So you don't have a perpetual lease with him. I don't know where you got that idea in your head. You had a 3-year lease at a particular rate with particular terms to it, and if you wanted to lease beyond that time, you had to come up with an agreement with regarding different rent. Did you ever come up with an additional agreement?
Yes, every 3 years.
Well, this is the first one, and this is 2012, so 6 years, 2018. Where's the 2018 lease?
Albert produces a cell phone.
May I?
Absolutely.
Judy turns and smiles at Whitney. Albert hands his phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a lease agreement on the phone.
Okay, so at best, you had an interest in this restaurant that was housed in the building until January 31st, 2024.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's best. Okay. Mr. Lovano, because your business was failing because of COVID, he decided he could make a restaurant work, a seafood restaurant. So during COVID, you're probably one of the few people in the universe that bought a restaurant.
My first one was doing very well. And when I seen his on LoopNet, it seemed like a similar floor plan, almost exact same size.
And you could do takeout.
And I can do takeout. But it was advertised kind of as turnkey.
Just say that's all I'm.
Okay.
It doesn't require a whole story.
Okay.
I have to get to the legalese first.
Okay.
First, Mr. Lovano has a premises that he has an interest in, and I assume could sublet, although I haven't looked into that part of the document, until 2024, period. Now, when you signed a lease with him in September of 2020, how long was the lease?
To expire November 30th, 2023. It was 3 years with a few months for tenant improvements.
Great. Can I see the lease that you have?
The lease that I signed.
Do you want me to look for a sublease provision?
Yeah.
Your Honor, the lease agreements were negotiated between Equinox, Isaac, and Mr. Ray.
So
All the information that was gathered was between the two of them, and I just agreed to it when it...
Well, then what'd you go in and change the locks for?
Judy glares at Albert. Caption coming up.
So you were told on June 18th that they weren't going to honor this.
Exactly right.
Then you should have paid June's rent.
Exactly right.
Well, you didn't.
Right.
So he changed the locks.
James smirks. Sarah shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, James and Albert.
James Ray claims businessman Albert Luvano illegally changed the locks to his restaurant and stole his property.
Now, he says that he told you that he wanted out of the lease because he wasn't doing the business he thought he would do. He wanted out, I think, in July.
July 1st, Your Honor.
Okay. And then you changed the locks on what date?
July 1st.
Which made it incapable for him to get his
No, Your Honor.
stuff
We
out.
gave him the opportunity to come and get his stuff.
You're not a we, Mr. Luvano. You say you had nothing to do with negotiating this original lease. You said he negotiated it with somebody else.
My broker, yes, Your Honor.
Well, your broker then is your agent.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I want you to tell me, sir, why you changed the locks on
Your
July
Honor,
1st.
On June 17th.
Just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's go back a second.
Okay.
How much was the rent you were charging him?
The sublease was $2,000 a month until May 30th or 31st, and then in June 1st, it went up to $2,500 a month.
And how much were you paying the landlord on your lease?
I'd say $1,627.54.
So you were making money.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm just putting this into perspective. You got out of that restaurant because you were losing money in that restaurant because of COVID. He took over the lease, and he paid you in September.
No, Your Honor, there was no key money.
Okay. On what month did he start to pay you rent?
In January. We gave him 3 months of free rent to get situated, and then he got 2 more months of half rent because the roof was leaking and we had to get that repaired.
September, October, November. So far, you got 3 months free rent to begin with. Is that right, sir?
To get the help permit, right, yeah.
He's running a losing business, and right now, he's responsible for the rent to his landlord.
Right.
So he felt as if he'd cover that, or maybe he worked it out with the landlord. Did you work out those 3 months with your landlord? Look at me.
No, I ate that time.
You never defaulted on any payment to the landlord.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So he ate the 3 months, and then you paid half rent for 2 months.
Yes.
When did you start paying him $2,000 a month?
March.
When was the restaurant opened?
January 15th, I think.
Did you do any business in January?
Yes.
February?
Yes.
What happened in March?
The building just started, as I opened up the building, I just finding all kind of issues with the building. And I find the things that weren't up to code.
Your Honor, that's not true.
The restroom wasn't ADA compliant, so I couldn't hire a person in a wheelchair. I think he put the restroom together.
Your Honor, everything was up to code. I'm sorry.
Just a second.
No.
If it was working, if everything was working, including his business, it wouldn't have been a problem. But you did, in fact, say that the roof was leaking that had to be fixed.
Yes, and that was part of the inspection by the health department.
Okay. Before you entered into this lease, did you have the restaurant and the building inspected?
The health department wouldn't review it until I had control of it and I submitted architectural plans before they would even come out. Even if I offered to pay them a fee, she said, no,
No, you can't tell me what they said to you, sir. You inspected it yourself.
Right.
Which sort of is not a very smart thing to do, rather than you investing a lot of money in a place. If I buy a house, I get a professional inspector that goes in and inspects the house, gives me a report, said house needs a new boiler, it needs new AC system, there's mold on the back deck. You get a report. All right. Now, when you told him that you were moving out, you told him that you were going to move out initially, according to your papers, in January.
No, I requested a cancellation of lease because the work conditions were not safe for the younger staff that I had working there.
That's not true.
I don't want you to interrupt me again.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Or him.
I have it on an email. It was June 18th, I think, or 17th. It was this form. I requested a cancellation of lease. They never responded back.
Okay, so you wrote to them, but they never answered you.
Yeah, I signed it and sent it to them.
And that's June 18th. Well, you signed it. Just because you asked for it doesn't mean you get it.
Right.
Okay, so June 18th, you wanted a cancellation of the lease. On what date?
I told him.
Not I told him.
This
Kevin,
says cancellation on July 1st, and you can keep the deposit to cover that June's rent. That's what all that form says.
Well, you can't do that. You can't tell him to keep the deposit for June's rent. Deposit is after he makes an inspection. If you take a deposit from somebody for an apartment, then the business is no different. The deposit is for whatever damage it is. You can't say you can keep my deposit for June's rent. I know that a lot of people do that, but you're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
Well, you got this nice form, cancellation of lease by mutual consent, but he never signed it.
Right. That's why I said I was requesting it. It doesn't.
He never signed. Just a minute. He never signed it. Do you have an answer to that?
Yes, Your Honor. The email.
I'm going to see it, please.
These emails indicate that he never indicated to me that there was anything unsafe or unsatisfactory in any way. All he indicated that he wasn't doing very good in business.
Shh. I can read.
And he wanted.
I can read.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Judy reviews the document.
All right, so he does tell you you can't use your deposit funds for rent, which is true, and he says, let me know when you will leave the keys and when you anticipate your final day to be. Well, you were negotiating with his broker, who was his agent, and it says personal property are now in the possession of the landlord, and rent will have to be brought current for personal property to be released. That doesn't sound unreasonable, does it?
When he locked me out, yes.
Why? You wrote him a letter June 18th that says you were canceling the lease as of July 1st.
I was requesting a cancellation. I can't cancel a lease unless he agrees to it.
You said to him that you weren't paying June's rent. You said to him in here, did you ever pay June's rent?
I never paid June's rent.
Just a second. That's very easy. So you acted upon this even though he didn't sign it. And you followed the terms of your document by not sending him June's rent and by telling him to take the deposit and use that, apply that to my last month's rent. He never agreed to that.
So since he never agreed to it, I was moving forward as if it's still my property.
Then you would have paid June's rent.
James smirks. Caption coming up.
Did you ever get written permission to sublet this property?
I had verbal permission.
You can't get permission unless it's in writing.
Yes, Your Honor.
Period.
Sarah smirks and shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, James and Albert.
James Ray claims businessman Albert Luvano illegally changed the locks to his restaurant and stole his property.
Okay. When were you going to pay June's rent? You were told by the broker on June 18th when they got a copy of this.
Right.
Hi, James. Please note that tenancy obligations will hold as agreed per the lease until it's filled by another tenant. We have started to market the space and will advise as interest is expressed. So you were told on June 18th that they weren't going to honor this.
Exactly right.
Then you should have paid June's rent.
Exactly right.
Well, you didn't.
Right.
So he changed the locks. You said you did exactly what you said you were going to do in this unilateral contract.
No, but
you didn't pay June's rent, and you said you were leaving July 1st.
That was a request.
But it was a request that you acted on, sir, by not paying June's rent. You did.
I needed a response from him.
You got a response from him the same day.
I'm assuming the property is still mine.
No, sir.
I wouldn't
You
have
got a
$20,000
response, Mr. Ray, the same day, the exact same day as the broker got your request.
Right.
You got his answer, and he said to you, gotcha, note, you're responsible for this lease.
Right.
We'll start to market it again, but you're responsible for this lease. So we're not agreeing to this, and they never signed it. You were told that the exact same day.
And
so if you wanted to honor the terms of the lease, sir, you would have paid June's rent, which you never did. And they didn't lock you out until July 1, when you still hadn't paid the rent.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, the rent would have just been late rent. You can't lock somebody out of their building. That's illegal.
Just a second.
Subsection 10 of the defendant's lease prohibits subleasing for what that's worth. There's some language about what happens if it is sublet, but initially it is prohibited, unless written consent is signed by the lessor.
Did you ever get written permission to sublet this property?
Originally,
Did you? That's a question. Did you ever get written permission
I
to
do not
sublet
have written permission from the
to
landlord.
sublet this property?
I had verbal permission, Your Honor.
It doesn't say verbal. It says without written consent of the lessor. That's that shopping center.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're not allowed to sublet this.
Well, the landlord did give me permission.
You
but
can't get permission unless it's in writing.
Yes, Your Honor.
Period. That's what your lease says.
I have written permission. He just.
You had no. Well, if you have written permission, I suggest you show it.
I don't have it on me, so I can't claim that I have it.
Well,
I did have
and
it.
it doesn't exist, because that's what we're here for today. And that's what you're suing for. You want money owed for breach of contract, for property that you had no right to sublease.
That's not what my understanding of the contract was, Your Honor. The landlord explained to me that I did have
No,
permission.
no, just a second. You can't tell me what the landlord explained to you. What the landlord explained to you was verbal. Now, so now we get to what's fair. Now we have somebody who breached a contract that they thought was a legitimate contract, which turns out to not be a legitimate contract. Got it? Were you in the premises in June?
Yes.
All of June?
It was in the middle of June when I told him that it was just not safe to work here anymore.
Just a second. It was in the middle of June when you left.
Well, I'm not understanding when you say when I left.
Okay.
When I closed the
Your
business down?
counterclaim's dismissed, by the way, because you have no proof that you had a right to sublet anything. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very
Your
good.
Honor.
You weren't in the premises when the locks were changed. You weren't doing business in that premises. You suffered no loss, and you paid no rent in June. I don't find that you're out anything. Now, they have property that belongs to you. Where is his freezer that he wants, and his grills and his fryer? Where is all
Everything's
that?
still in the restaurant, as far as I know.
Okay. What is in the restaurant, sir, that you purchased? Just tell me.
It's a laundry list.
Well, I don't want a laundry list. I want the main items that are in there.
The main items that are expensive is commercial refrigerator, commercial freezer, 35-pound fryers, custom-made signs.
He says that the freezer is still there and the fryers are still there. I will give you the ability within 5 days to go and get them.
That's all.
With a marshal, you can go in. Refrigerator, freezer, 2 35-pound fryers, and all the signage from your restaurant.
And a POS system.
A what?
POS, to ring up like a cash drawer, electronic cash drawer.
Is it something that's capable of being moved, or was it built in?
No, you can just pick it up and take it. It's $1,600. Has a credit card machine, drawer, and like an iPad on the top.
Okay. Mr. Lovano.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pay careful attention to me. Is that POS system still in the restaurant?
It should be, yes, Your Honor.
Great. I'll prepare an order. You take it with a marshal. You have 5 days from today's date to pick up the merchandise, and if you do not pick it up within 5 days, on notice to Mr. Lovano, then it will be considered abandoned. Do you understand?
But it's just so much more stuff that it's soup warmers and
he did remove and sell a lot of the fixtures and other stuff.
Well, then you have the landlord come in here and complain about that, sir. You had no right to enter into a sublease with him.
Judge, all this stuff that I replaced, I got rid of his stuff because it was no good, and I replaced it with this stuff.
He's not going to pay you.
Oh, I know that.
Do you understand
I
that?
just want my equipment back. That's
well,
all
so far you've got the major equipment back that you told me that you wanted.
There's still like almost $8,000 worth more stuff.
Like what?
Mop buckets, heat lamps, soup warmers.
Okay, that's it. We're done. I'll have the order prepared for you. Use a marshal, 5 days, pick it up. And you still didn't pay June's rent. So understand, I'm not entertaining his counterclaim for June's rent because he didn't have the right to sublet it.
Judge,
and then
the building had termites, the roof was leaking, had rats,
next
had
time,
mice in the ceiling.
Mr. Ray, get an inspector. We're done here. 5 days. You'll have the order. Get your stuff.
Court is adjourned.
James is interviewed, then Albert.
It was a fair decision. I really just wanted my equipment back.
Well, she did what she had to do.
I was spent a fortune on just trying to update it.
He inspected it himself. The health department came in, made him bring everything up to code.
Get an inspection.
Make sure you have all your paperwork when you go to court.
Judy.
Aside from the fact that there's a lot of sadness in the restaurant business as a result of the pandemic, so lawsuits like this are going to proliferate, I think. And one takeaway, I think, for everybody is when you sign a lease and you make a deposit, that deposit is not to be used for your last month's rent. That deposit is supposed to be there to ensure that if there is any damage to the property, that the funds will be there, because once you move.
Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is your guy Charlie here again with the new gameplay of Counter-Strike 1.6. And the map we will gonna play today is the Inferno. So guys, this map is kinda awesome. I like it, but I don't know about you guys, but I hope you are gonna like it and gameplay as well. So guys, if you are new here, so don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you already know me, so don't forget to like and share. So without wasting your time, let's go guys. Let's go. We picked up the guns and we will continuously moving on. See what happens this time. Either we will win or lose. I don't know about that, but maybe they are here. Oops. Go, go, go guys, go guys. Keep rushing, keep rushing. Keep rushing on them. Let's go from this side. And don't stop guys, don't stop. Be careful. Oh, they are not here. Maybe here. Yeah, I got them. I spot one. I spot one. Two of them. Oh my god. Nice one. Oh, seriously bro? I suck. Guys, please perform some. Please guys, please. Oh, let's do it. I'll do it myself. And we're gonna go again, and we're gonna get them. And this time, we're gonna win. Go, 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 guys, go, go. Come on. Come on. Two of them down. Oh, nice one, nice one. I'm feeling happy this time, but see what happens. Because we don't know. Who knows what's gonna happen next time. Bro. Give it to me. Now let's go from this side and see what's happened. Where are they? Camping and finding the chance to win? Yes! Okay guys, this time also I'm gonna handle it myself as I told you. So let's see what happens this time. Guys, fire, fire, go, 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 go. Keep firing, keep moving guys. Keep moving, be careful, watch out. There might be enemies ahead, but keep watching out. Make them... Oh my god. We got him. These guys really sucks. Oh? Glitch or something? They are here. I got you, bro. I got you. I got you, seriously. Oh my god, I didn't watch out. Thanks man. Let's see. This time also I'm gonna handle it myself and pick up the guns. Let's go. Keep moving on guys, don't stop. Be careful. First blood. See what happens. Oh my god. Coming over from there, coming from that side. I spotted. Oh my god. I sucked. No worries. We're gonna play again. Next time, dude, I'm gonna get you. But for this time, you have to face the consequences. Oh, bro. I call it as a beast gun. Seriously. Yeah. Good job. Okay guys, this time again gonna handle it myself, and all of you guys, yeah, roger that. Go guys, keep moving, be careful, watch out. Oh my god. Damn it. That's a damn chop. That's a damn hard one. That's a damn hard one. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Either we win or lose. Give him assistance, guys. Give him assistance. Where are they? Where are they? Come in front, all of you. Why are you hiding? Why are you hiding, guys? We are the pros. We are the team. Oh my god, shifted the team. So let's go. Oh my god, first blood. Handle it myself this time also. So let's see. Oh my god, I didn't got him. But no worries, we're gonna get them this time as well. Are they here maybe? Or not? I don't think so they are here. Got him. I don't know why, but enemy guns perform better than ours. Always. Maybe no matter we are on the opponent or counter-terrorist side or the terrorist side. Either. Get that, follow him, and go. Oh my god. I wish I could do something. Give him backup, bro. Go. Give him backup. See what happens. Let's see what happens. We're gonna handle this time by ourselves as well. And go guys, go. Keep moving, don't stop. Oh my god, you got my side. You got my side, bro. You got my side. Let's see. We're gonna fire. Go guys, go. Take the place. Take over the areas. Got him. One down. Got other. Oh my god. Seriously? Fall back, team. Fall back. See what happens. Oh my gosh. I didn't believe that. Let's see what happens. What is happening over here, guys? What is happening over here, guys? Okay, we got them.